Hello YouTube, this is another video that I'm going to make in English, and it's gonna be like maybe like a 10-11 minute video. And basically I really wanted to, I will upload another video in Spanish, but I wanted to do this in English just because I feel like sometimes, depending on what language you speak, the message and the context of what you're trying to convey verbally comes out better. So I feel like in this instant, English is the preferred language. But anyways, so what I essentially wanted to talk about briefly is it's going to be like a continuation of one of my previous videos about depression. And I will say that depression is a rising epidemic. It truly is a rising epidemic, and I'm not gonna go over too much why it's going on. But basically, in my previous video, I talked about overindulgence, social media, electronics. We have too much of an abundance of things that makes life a lot easier, so we don't have to work for things as much. And I also believe the new dietary standards, political standards, and the new social norms as well between both men and women are leading to depression and a lack of social skills, a decline in social skills and hobbies, and basically connecting with people. And it doesn't have to be romantic, it should just be normal relationships, like friendly relationships, having acquaintances, whatever. But what I want to talk about is the crisis of depression. And what I also wanted to get into is why lots of people are. I notice this is the why not notice is a fact that everywhere you go in the United States, more people are becoming addicted to drugs and alcohol. And alcohol, where I'm from, is one of the main things that keeps the economy running here. And I mean, I'm not saying alcohol is bad. It's okay to have like a beer or maybe like a drink of wine or something once in a blue moon, like maybe once every 2 weeks or once a month, like what I do. Because I understand that human beings, we've been consuming alcohol for tens of thousands of years. But, like I say, everything in moderation. You can't have overindulgence of alcohol because you get cancer. You get all types of cancer. You become overweight. You age faster, and you just... you become a very negative and depressed person. But drugs is really being propagated throughout the western portion of the United States, like California, Nevada, Arizona, going up to Oregon and Washington, and Texas too. We can't forget Texas. But I really feel that things are actually are getting worse before they're getting better. I remember Barack McCrae, R.I.P. Barack McCrae, he said that. And I truly believe that it's all due to so many people are just tired and depressed. They're tired of the economic and financial circumstances that are happening in this country. They're tired of the bullshit. But instead of looking at things with objectivity, instead of keeping things into perspective, having discernment, and understanding that we need to be sagacious when it comes to looking at things. We need to be wise and look at things with a full comprehension, without any partialities or biases. And I feel that we as human beings are really failing in that aspect as we become more industrialized with much more technology. We become more insular, and thus we become less human, and we become more like robots, like the Matrix. And I believe that we as human beings, we are essentially becoming the Matrix. But there is no Keanu Reeves, there's no Lawrence Fishburne, there's no one, there's no superhero like that's gonna save us from the abyss, from the opprobrium, from the ignominy. And the real reason why I've been thinking about this a lot is because, I get ticked off. I mean, we all get ticked off at work, and we don't want to go to work. We don't want to have to do the things that we do to survive. But compared to like what people are going through in communist Cuba, how people live in Mexico, how people live in the Philippines, Puerto Rico, and other parts of Latin America and the world in general that are ridden with poverty, famine, disease, crime, corruption, war, and third world countries. It's not like just say, oh, there's people starving in Africa or whatever. It's much more than that. Even look at the homeless person that's on the street. Look at the people out there that are in clinics trying to get sober and stuff. Like, we have to look at things as like my life could be like that, and like I talked about, I'll get into a little bit more than I did in the previous video. I was going through a really bad medical problems with my stomach and with my lower back, and I had to go and be in physical therapy for a year, and I was out of work for a year, and I finally got it all back, and I really realized that going through that phase in my life, that was like probably the most darkest, most lugubrious, most depressing part in my life. I was I was like almost like 185 pounds. I was extremely out of shape. I was extremely depressed. I only saw darkness in life, and I didn't keep things into perspective. I didn't think about how there's people literally in Cuba. I have family that live in Mexico and the Philippines that literally don't have shit, but yet they don't have this depression epidemic. They're not addicted to alcohol pills. They're not eating junk food. They're not eating sweets all day. They're not addicted to constant like pornography or social media and stuff. Is because it's that mind frame that they have to where they don't have a lot of things that we have here. Like I talked about in my previous video, you can't go to a grocery store in these countries. You can't go to get your shit at a pharmacy. Some places don't even have hospitals. But yet these people find a way to be happy. And I really believe this is because they don't have all this technology. They don't have all this social media that they're able to communicate with each other better. Now, before I make myself sound like a hypocrite, yes, I do have my phone. I do use YouTube. I do have Instagram, but I rarely use Instagram. I only like have it for like history stuff or following like actual people that I talk to, like family and friends. But besides that, like I don't have it downloaded on my phone, my computer, iPad, nothing. And I mainly use like Spotify or YouTube, but I'm not so addicted to it to where like like I have to listen to this or that, or I have to watch this or that, or else I'm not able to sleep at night. Like I was like that before when I was in high school, but now I'm not, because I really truly believe that all of it is a lie. It's to distract you, and that's why like cookies and stuff are on our phones too. Like you go on Hulu or Amazon Prime, you see ads. It's like people, they say, like my cousin, he's like, I feel like they're listening to me. Well, they're not listening to you. It's because of all the cookies that you look at your phone. They get all your information, your job, where you live, your social media, and then they advertise that to where they get more money from you. That's all it is. Some may say it's nefarious, but in reality, it's just how America is. America was built on money and was built on stepping over other people. And I'm grateful to be an American. I'm grateful for the things that I have. I'm grateful that my family left their indolent countries and built a life here. But at the same time, we also need to look at things objectively, to keep things into perspective and understand that there's a lot of problems that are going on in America, and it's only going to get worse before it gets better. Like people, they always told me ever since I was knee high to a grasshopper that I was I had like an old soul presence. Like, not like I was like serious to where I didn't have a sense of humor, but I just seemed more mature for my age. And I truly believe that if I was this age, like in the 80s, 90s, like early 2000s, my not, I mean, my life still would have difficulties. Don't get me wrong, but I wouldn't be dealing with the true force loneliness. I wouldn't be dealing with the incel dumb mindset. I wouldn't be having all these issues because both men and women back then weren't as corrupt as they are today. Human beings have always been corrupt. We've always been sinful. But I felt that people back then were just much more connected. And that's something that, I mean, I don't really ponder about it too much, is because, you know, time machines don't exist. You can't change the past and stuff like that, but it's something to think about. And, you know, moving forward, you have to understand that there's so many vicissitudinous circumstances, there's so much difficulties that we as human beings can only deal with so much, to the point where we give up. But I don't give up, I move on. Like, one thing I moved on from, and like I said before, I'm not MGTOW. I don't really like MGTOW. I don't put that, but I do agree with the philosophy of moving forward from women, and that's what I'm doing. I mean, I'm not saying that I'm never going to be with a woman. Like, if a woman truly shows that she's a pious female who's full of soulfulness, who's full of humanity, who's full of life, that is intelligent, that has a great sense of humor, that has her shit straight, she has her head on a swivel, she knows what she wants out of life, and she doesn't let other men, you know, pound her out and all three holes and use her and pump a bunch of bastard kids inside of her, and then she has a fucked up life. Like, you know, I don't want that in a woman. I want a woman who's I don't really believe in the mindset of confidence or being confident. I want a woman who's secure in herself, who's secure physically, mentally, and financially. You know, I want a woman who really sees things. I mean, obviously, you know, we all think differently. Everyone has their likes and dislikes, and no woman is obligated to like or think exactly like I do. But the affinity that I am talking about is essentially to where it's a compendious, it's a compendious nexus. It's a compendious nexus, of mind, body, and soul. That's what I want. That's what I want in a woman. That's what I want in all relationships with people. Is that type of that ability to where there isn't that awkwardness. And the reason why there's that awkwardness in the air after you have a conversation is because and then you notice how people, they always go to their phone when they feel uncomfortable. We've lost, the majority of human beings, we've lost that ability to be able to carry on a conversation like our parents, grandparents, and great-grandparents did. We've lost that ability. But how we gain that ability back is through understanding that we are at fault. Americans, we are at fault for causing this depression epidemic. We, as Americans, are at fault of causing this drug, this addiction epidemic, this constant lusting for vices, for instant gratification. And I noticed too is that so many people are protesting about what's going on in the Middle East, but yet how come no one's upset about what's going on to the people of Cuba right now? How come no one's in the universities demanding that the Communist Party of Cuba gets dismantled and that Cubans have democracy? Why does nobody care about that? Just saying. But I don't want to get into that because I don't really like politics and stuff. But the point is that this is what I wanted to talk about with y'all, and it's very important that that we have that type of ability, that we have that type of mindset, that objectivity, that sagacity to say, hey, you know what? Not only could it be worse, but it could also be better. But what can I do in this instant right now to stop it from getting worser and help it get better? So that's all I wanted to talk about. Appreciate you all listening. Bye.